This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Okay, hello, and welcome to the last episode of The Empty Chair for this season. But we will be back again. When the hell? Oh, in September, I guess we come back. Yeah. This show is being dedicated to a friend of mine and a very close friend of my daughter. Her name was Kim Holland. And I know usually when we do the show in remembrance of someone they did suicide or they OD'd. Well, this is not the case with Kim. She was working a pretty good recovery. She was in a program. I believe she was in a sober living home. And what happened was she got a pass to go see her beautiful young daughter who was doing a recital. So Kim went to see the recital, and her daughter, who they just had a unbelievably wonderful relationship. And on the way back, unfortunately, Kim died in a fatal car accident. So, I mean, did drugs kill her? No. But obviously, if she wouldn't have been in that situation, she would still be with us today. But this show is in memory of her, and she was just a lovely lady, and just had the most beautiful daughter, who, by the way, is doing well with her grandparents. So keep Kim and her family in your prayers. And before I introduce my guest, and I know Fran's really going to get pissed at this, but my lovely wife was a new member of the Happy Hearts, and they did a performance over at the Nevins Library in a salute to the veterans. So this was her first live performance, and we're very proud of her. And they tell me she was the star of the Happy Hearts. So, oh boy, is she going to get me for that? I may not leave tonight, Lou. Okay, my guest is Nikki, and her and I go back a few years, and become very, very good friends. Uh, we talk every now and again, and she's got her story. The reason I brought her in is basically she had the courage to, no matter how many times she relapsed or slipped, she always learned from it and came back even stronger. And I'm just so proud of her, and we just love her to death. So, hi, Nikki.
Hi, Phil.
We're gonna start a little bit off with the dark days. We were talking a little bit before, and so Nikki, you were very young when you started to experiment, like everybody else. You were.
Yep, I was 13 years old, right about there.
And doing pot.
Yep.
And it's that's the natural age now. It truly is. So so you did pot, and when did you kind of graduate to something a little stronger?
So I experimented with pot, and like I drank here and there, and I started smoking cigarettes, and then when I was like a junior in high school, like I started experimenting with like club drugs, because I started going to raves, because I was hanging out with like older kids, and my boyfriend at the time was a DJ, and we were going to raves, and all of my friends like in my friend group were doing it too, and so a lot of times like we were getting it and doing it at parties, but then I started, I found I'm an extremist, and so I take things to the extreme. And so I found like the clubs, like the ones that are open 24 hours, and then there's always an after party afterwards. So like you kind of made a weekend of it, kind of a thing.
So you now, how old were you roughly about this time now?
I was about 17.
Really?
Yeah.
And you were doing all this stuff at 17?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. you kind of progressed rather rapidly.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Not really proud of it, but yeah.
So at this time here, now I know you and your mom have a really good relationship now, but did she at the time and did she at the time think that it was just, a young girl just kind of experimenting, going through stuff?
So I wasn't really honest with her about anything I
Oh,
was
really?
doing.
Oh, that's so I
No.
can't believe that.
But she had her ways. Like I have older siblings who know mutual friends of mine, and so everybody kind of knew what I was doing in some form or another. So I'm sure she had an idea. And then at some point, like I just started flat out telling her what I was doing because I didn't care to get permission.
Okay.
I was an extremely strong-willed, difficult child
Mm-hmm.
my entire life.
Your entire life until now.
Until now.
Yeah.
Until now.
So now at 17, would you say you were addicted then or just on your way?
I mean, so with a disease like alcoholism or addiction, it's all about progression. And I seriously looked forward to those weekends, and those weekends turned into, from a Friday night, quickly turned into a Friday, Saturday night, and then the next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
And then, it got to a point where I couldn't even wait till the weekend.
Okay. So how long did this progress? Like, how long was it before you went to just weekends to more than just weekends?
So
I mean,
my past is so blurry because I spent so many years not really knowing what I was doing from day to day.
Yeah.
Just kind of flying blind. But like, from my memory, like I held everything together for a long time, and like graduated high school by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, I know that feeling actually.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even using anything.
I had like the most absences of everybody in the high school, me and my best friend at the time, because we were leaving during, free periods, and then we wouldn't come back until like the following Monday. Like we'd leave on like our lunch period on a Friday, and I would, find a way to stay out until Monday. So, I was missing school quite a bit, but
you got through it.
I did get through it. I did graduate.
Then you went to Harvard, Yale.
No, I went to UMass Lowell.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because me and my best friend both got in there. And she was like my little sidekick. I still keep in touch with her to this day. But we were always up to no good, but we didn't think we had any problems. We just thought we were partiers.
Sure, having fun.
Yeah.
I get it.
We thought we knew how to have the most fun out of everybody that we knew.
And you probably thought you were.
And we probably thought we were.
Yeah,
and, I'm not going to lie, for a long time, it was fun. And it was fun for a little bit of time. And, somewhere along the line, the script flips, and it becomes not fun, and it becomes a chore, and it becomes a job, and it just becomes survival.
Absolutely. Yep, I get that part too. Yep. I've been through that with my daughter. This best buddy of yours, did you say you still keep in touch? How's she doing?
She's okay. Yeah, she's okay. She's not in recovery. I don't know if she even needs to be. Like she's doing good.
Okay.
So good. Yeah. And I wish her well. So
of course.
But if she ever felt like she did need this program, like I would be the first one to help her out. But like it's about attraction, not promotion. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yep. So I just focus on myself.
Okay. So all right. So did you end up getting through Lowell, or
no?
You didn't think so.
No, I partied my way right out of UMass.
You did. Okay. But okay. So when does it get? Now I know you do dog grooming, right? How did you come about that?
So
I mean, you started doing that when you were still
No.
Oh, you did not. Oh, then we'll go
No,
back to
this
that.
is
After.
further
We'll
down
get
the
back to
line.
that after. Okay. That's good because I would have hated to see what the dogs would have looked like while you're using them.
Oh yeah.
Could have been. Although you might have come up with some new cuts or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm a much better groomer when I'm sober.
Oh, I can buy
Oh
that.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, she does my hair. Okay, so why don't we get into the part where you started to realize it was more than just fun, that it was developing into a problem?
So that didn't happen for a very long time. It's only
Mhm.
looking back that I can see where it started to become a problem.
Mhm.
But for a long, long time, I didn't have any big consequences for my actions. I mean, like I flunked out of college, but I was kind of like good riddance. I
Yeah.
only went to college because I was pushed to go to college because I didn't know what else to do with my life.
Mhm.
I hadn't found my passion, which is dog grooming. That came later,
Mhm.
and that was a happy accident. But you know, I went to college because that's what everybody else was doing. I didn't know what else to do with myself, and I couldn't settle on a major. So I picked business because that's what my mom went to school for,
Mhm.
and was just going to go through the motions.
Yeah.
But I wasn't happy about it.
No.
No.
So what happened after you flunked out of college?
My mom highly recommended I go to Northern Essex Community College.
Okay.
Because I have no direction with my life, and I'm not even sure where I was living at the time. I've moved and lived so many different places, but like,
now tell me that at this time here, does your mom start to realize that you're starting to have a problem, or not yet?
So it's funny because if you ask her and you ask me, you'll probably get two different answers because my view is so skewed. But I'm sure she probably had some sneaking suspicions because of my behavior. But, I didn't recognize I had any sort of issue. That was coming shortly, though.
Yeah.
And, I hadn't had too many consequences for my actions, so I didn't really think there was a problem.
Well, yeah, when you say you didn't have any consequences.
Like no legal consequences.
But I'm saying that's because you kind of had a nice channel to get your drugs.
Well, that had just about ended.
Okay.
But then the opioid epidemic hit.
Yeah.
And I was really good at going to see a doctor and getting exactly what I wanted.
Oh my goodness.
I was really good at that.
Yeah, doctors were pretty good at that shit back then.
They were.
Yeah.
And they just handed it out pretty freely. And that was my source of getting it for the most part.
Yeah.
And I was pretty creative, and some of the things I did I probably shouldn't even talk about because I don't know what the statute of limitations are on them, but
well, I'll tell you what, we'll skip some of the specifics, but yeah, I understand what you're talking about, because I know my daughter has done some things that she probably wouldn't want to talk about too much either, but yeah, it gets to the point where it's a very hard job trying to keep yourself supplied, ain't it?
Yes, especially when you start to have those negative consequences, like you can't hold down a job,
right,
you can't pay for your own apartment. And my mom's probably going to hate me for saying this, but for a long, long time, I'm pretty sure she didn't know I really had a problem because she was helping me stay off the streets.
Yeah.
So funding not my habit. She would never have funded my habit, but like funding my rent and my car insurance and my vehicles, many, many vehicles that I crashed due to.
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm starting to wonder if you and my daughter were related. she crashed. She totaled about 4 cars in her heyday.
Oh, I've
also.
got her beat, but we'll
Oh,
just keep it at
okay.
that.
We'll let
Yep.
it go at that. But it's not a contest. By
It's
the
not
way.
a contest,
No,
and I'm not proud.
no. Okay. So, and as far as your mom goes, who I obviously I know real well, and Andy, and we love him to death anyway. But I know what she was going through because she thinks she was being supportive, because she really didn't understand addiction, just like none of us did back
Right.
then. She didn't realize back then that it was a disease, that you
Right.
were a very sick pain in the ass.
And I was also very good at hiding a lot of stuff. So
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
she didn't realize how bad it was. For a long time, I'm pretty sure she thought I was just severely depressed and couldn't work and could barely get out of bed.
Sure.
I mean, the truth of the matter was I was always working, leading a double life, doing whatever I had to do to get by.
Sure.
But all of my bills were being paid not by me. So
Right.
every single cent I made went to
Yeah.
what I had to go to.
It's funny. I remember my daughter said something similar to what you just said, because she was living with Fran and I, until we finally had to ask her to leave. But she told me later on, after she was in recovery, she says, you took care of my rent, you took care of my food. If I needed gas, she says, all I had to do was get money for drugs.
Right. And I remember for a long time thinking, wow, my life is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also didn't want to wake up in the morning and do it all over again.
Yeah.
So I was really torn. It was not fun. It was completely leading a double life filled with guilt, shame, remorse, not knowing a way out. I didn't know a better way.
Right. Yeah. It was, tell me something. Did you think that at this time here, did you think that was it? That's the way you were always going to be?
I didn't think I was going to live to see a very old age. I kind of knew that was probably in my future, but I was terrified of going a day without a substance in me.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know how to function.
Right.
I didn't know how to have a conversation. I didn't know what normal people talked about. I didn't know anything. I didn't know little life skills, nothing. I was.
So at this point in your life, you had accepted the fact that this is what you were going to do until you were no longer with us.
Right.
That's kind of sad, isn't it?
It was complete, utter despair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was terrified all the time.
Wow. I can understand that. Okay, now we're going to have to fast forward a little bit to what forced you into treatment. And I know that you did spend a little time incarcerated.
Yes, I did.
But that turned out to be really a good thing, I believe.
Oh, it was the best thing that ever could have happened for me. I believe that I had to be physically removed from my surroundings and locked away for a good amount of time to understand that I could go a day without a drink or a drug in my system, that I could operate like a normal human being, that I needed to physically be removed from society for a little bit of time to get some time under my belt. And
so let's talk about your first experience in I think you said it was Middleton.
So originally they sent me to Middleton to the detox program, and
you nailed that, right?
Yeah, I did not do well there.
Okay.
I was not used to being told what to do. I had never been to any sort of this wasn't jail, but it was not detox. It was basically a holding with 40 beds, 40 women, all being basically imprisoned in a room.
Being someplace you didn't want to be.
Right, exactly. And there was correctional officers bringing you from one room to the next for different parts of your day. And you slept on a cot in one big room with all these women. And it's funny, when I got there, I actually knew some people there. So that's not always a good sign.
No, probably not.
But
Not what you would call a real support group. Huh?
No, but we did go through the big book,
Uh-huh.
and they did have commitments come in.
Right.
And that was good. There was like a little taste of recovery in there. Unfortunately, I only made it through 8 days there, and then I got lugged to Framingham for the remainder of my time.
Why'd they throw you out after 8 days?
So,
you're such a sweet kid.
So no, I'm a good kid now, but like so I got into a fight with a girl. I don't even remember what it was about. I had tried to bring stuff in with me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't wear my shoes, like all these, they call them D reports.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many D reports that they were like, you can't stay here. Like, you're not fit. You're not a good fit. Like, we need to bring you to Framingham for the remainder of your time. And I was like excited. I was like, great, get me out of here. Like, put me in general population where I'll probably know more people and I can move around more, and like, I don't have to deal with this. I just wanted out, So if they told me they were bringing me to, it didn't matter. I was like, okay, let's go.
Well, I'm so glad that you got a happy ending out of that, going to Framingham.
It wasn't great.
Oh, it was?
No, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But like, there's nothing you can do when you're in jail. So you just adapt. Like, if you don't adapt, like, you can't survive. So, and then when I got there, like, I knew some people there too, and they kind of like showed me the ropes, and it was bad, but like, it wasn't terrible. And I was sober, and I was forced to be sober. Mm-hmm. And it was the only way I think I was going to get completely clean and sober. And so it was a blessing. Mm-hmm. Like, I look back on it as the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. Because I got off any prescription medication I was on. I couldn't smoke cigarettes. You can find drugs in jail if you want drugs in jail, but I got like a little taste of recovery and sobriety, and I was like, wow, I can actually do this. Mm-hmm. And like, I had some fun in there. Like, I met some okay people. Like, I knew who to stay away from and like who not to associate with. I mean, like, I have some street smarts, but like, I just navigated my way around there because that's what you have to do. Like, you don't have much of a choice.
Right.
But, it was literally the best thing that could have happened to me.
But you weren't thrilled about being there.
I was not thrilled with being there. I couldn't wait to get out.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but I didn't know when I was going to get out because I had a court date set. Yep. And
now, if I remember, this is probably about the time that I met your stepdad, Andy, and his daughter, Andrea.
Yep.
And they came to a Circle of Hope meeting.
Yep.
And your mom wasn't there. I think she was taking some kind of classes or something at the time. But yeah, he came, and then soon after that, your mom came. And they really got into, learning how to deal with someone with a problem. They filled us in and told us a lot about you. And so let's talk about your next step. Now that they have a really better understanding that you're not just someone who likes to use, you're someone who has to use.
Right. It's kind of like, it's like they say in the program, like, you're not a bad person trying to get good. You're a sick person trying to get well.
Exactly.
And like, they understand that today. And I have to give you props because you've done an amazing job, like, teaching them like how to maneuver with me, because sometimes I don't even call my sponsor. Sometimes I just call my mom now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like she does an amazing job.
Yeah,
And like no disrespect to my sponsor. I love my sponsor. I need my sponsor. But
Right.
like my mom, she gets the
She
program.
truly does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because I know at meetings, she doesn't come to too many meetings anymore because she's doing something, another job or whatever. But she was always giving good advice to other members in the group because of what she's gone through and that. So you're in jail. Your family is starting to get the idea of what's going on. What happens next?
So, so I went to court and they wanted me to sit in jail for an unspecified amount of time until I could get into a program. And it was, October, and all the programs fill up when it gets cold outside. And I was going to be sitting in Framingham for, the unforeseeable future. And I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom came to a visit one day, and she just looked at me and she said, I found you a bed somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I remember feeling like this huge weight just like lift off me. Mm-hmm. And like this small amount of like hope like coursed through me. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could really do this. Like maybe I could really give this a shot, Mm-hmm. Like I was like, maybe, I was terrified because this is a whole new life, a way of living I have no idea how to do, but I had a little taste of it and I realized it was possible. And I was like, okay, this is also my ticket out of jail.
Right, exactly.
Which
is a plus.
Big motivator.
Yeah.
It's just a big motivator. Yeah. Let's just say that. But like, let's give this a try.
Yeah.
And so I went to court, and my mom had to stand up in court and fight for them to let me go to the sober house, mm-hmm. which was the Haven. And I loved it there. I remember we got out of court and my probation officer was like, do not go anywhere else. Just go straight to the sober house. And my mom was like, let's stop for ice cream. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going back to jail for ice cream. Like, I was terrified.
The threat of going back there was quite a deterrent, wasn't it?
It was for at least a good amount of time. Yeah. Whatever keeps you sober a day at a time.
I agree.
Whatever gets you in the doors, whatever it takes. For me, it took a lot.
Sure.
And it took different things at different times. But,
And, what I want people to understand is this was your first attempt after probably over 25 years of not even trying to get sober.
Right.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. Now we're in Haven of Hope. Now we're starting our journey. So we're going to take 2 minutes, take a little advertisement break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the good stuff. And by the way, folks, if you want to call in, Lou will put the number up here. You want to call in and say hi, we're here. If you want to call in and tell me to go take a shit for myself, we're still here. See you in 2 minutes.
Haven of Hope is a faith-based 12-step recovery home for women seeking a loving and structured lifestyle to help them persevere over addiction. Our sober living house offers women an opportunity to gain life skills, coping mechanisms, and personal growth so they may return to their home or working field as productive members of society. Haven of Hope's approach is based on fostering a structured, faith-based life with a core component being the 12 steps from the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, for with God, all things are possible. Contact Haven of Hope at havenofhopemethuen.org or call 978-258-3982. That's 978-258-3982, or visit us at 82 Union Street in Methuen.
Hi there. My name's Phil Lahey, and I do the Empty Chair show here. And as much as Fran and I have enjoyed doing this show, Our real passion is with where it all began, the Circle of Hope, my support group for the families of addicts. I learned a long time ago that dealing with an active addict is just too difficult. So we invite you to join our group, the Circle of Hope. Uh, Give me a call, 978-886-2949, and you'll see our banner on the show anyway. And give me a call, find out what it's all about. You know, if you don't think you're ready to sit into a group, Fran and I always invite people over to the house and we sit down, have a one-on-one, and we talk about a plan you'll have to set up, how to deal with someone in active addiction, or just give you a chance to vent. So, I mean, if you or someone you know has dealing with someone in active addiction, reach out, give a call, take the first step. I promise you that it won't make it easier, but once you understand what it's all about, you'll be able to deal with it a little bit better. So again, 978-886-2949. Just ask for Phil. I'm always available 24/7. Thanks, and we'll see you on the empty chair. Bye-bye. Well, okay, welcome back. As I told you, like I said, the phone number will be up there. You want to call in, say hi to Nikki. That's great. If you want to call in and say something in memory of Kim Holland, who the show is being dedicated to, that's great too. So we went through the dark days, Nikki. Now we're in the haven of hope. I don't want people to get the idea that it's smooth sailing for the next 30 minutes. We are going to hit a couple of bums, but that's really what this particular episode is all about. So you're in Haven. We met.
Right.
Yes, we had a beginning of a long and really friendly relationship. So you're in Haven Hope. So what happens next?
So I was in Haven and I absolutely loved it. Like I liked being clean and sober, and I was enjoying like getting into like recovery. But I still had some bad people from my past in my life.
Yep.
So I was once again trying to live like two different lives. And there was a part of me that was jealous that I didn't have the freedom that my old friends had.
Mm-hmm.
And, so like they say in the program, like I wanted to be sober, but I wanted to get high more than I wanted to be sober.
Oh, okay.
So there was a point where the opportunity presented itself and I said yes.
All right. Now, this was after how long?
This was after just right after 8 months.
8 months.
Yep.
Yeah. And what kind of relapse or slip was that?
So I went out for a couple of drinks and then, once you have a couple of drinks, like I was in an overnight pass and I went out for a couple of drinks, and once you have a couple of drinks, like your inhibitions are down, and then, drugs came into play, and I just said yes. And then I started panicking because I was on 18 months probation.
Okay.
And, I had.
Yeah, so you weren't in the clear yet.
No, I had the threat of jail time hanging over my head, but like, I liked being clean and sober, but I really just wasn't ready.
Yep.
Because none of that stuff can keep you sober if you don't really want it. All the consequences I had hanging over my head weren't enough to keep me clean and sober. At the end of the day, like I didn't have a defense against the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was working my program, but I was working it the way I wanted to work it. I didn't really want to be doing the steps.
Mm-hmm.
I liked certain meetings, but not other meetings. I didn't want to, tell my sponsor everything. I didn't want to take all the suggestions.
Sure.
Yep. And for someone like me, I needed to take every suggestion and do everything as it was laid out. Because, I was coming from a complete place of utter despair, and I didn't have the luxury of just doing it my way.
Okay.
Because my way didn't work.
All right. So obviously now, I guess you're no longer in the Haven.
Nope. I called up my probation officer thinking he would take pity on me.
Okay.
And he was like, well, that's great to hear. Why don't you come into court? You're going back to jail. And I was like, oh, okay. So that didn't work. Like I said, I got away with a lot of stuff for a long, long time until I didn't.
Mhm.
And then everything started blowing up in my face. And I'm grateful for those things blowing up in my face today, because if they hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Sure.
But, so I went to court. Court let me go to CSS, which you got me into.
Oh my God, that seems like so long ago.
That was so long ago. So, but my genius head was like, well, I'm not going to CSS completely sober. And at this time I had sobered up. So I grabbed a bottle of gin and ended up in the hospital with basically what was alcohol poisoning, complete dehydration. It was close to alcohol poisoning. And I woke up and I was just like, how did I get here? Like, where am I? And, luckily, CSS took me because my mom had tried to take me to detox that night, and I was too drunk for detox.
Okay.
Which I didn't even know was a thing. But
I didn't either. Now that you mentioned it.
No, but you can be too drunk for detox.
Yeah,
That's the thing. So I got into CSS, and I went through all of CSS, all of TSS, and after 4 months ended up at a halfway house.
Now was this
So no, I wanted to go to Glenishean because it was close to my family, and it was around a place I was familiar, but I got sent to Framingham to Serenity. And I spent a month in Framingham at Serenity when Glenishean called me and said, we have a bed for you.
I remember that.
And I said, I'm already at another halfway house. And they said, well, if you really want to come here, see if your insurance will let you do a lateral move. So now I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at tackling things when I really want them. So I got a hold of my insurance. They said I could make a lateral move. I told Serenity I'd be leaving. I got someone to come pick me up from Serenity. I stayed the night at my parents' house, and I went to Glenishean the next day with the approval of my probation officer, which that took a little convincing. But yeah, so then I was at Glenishean for 6 months, and my best friend Jamie Quinn is listening to this right now, and that's where I met her. And she's doing amazing at life, just like I am. I always tell her she's kicking ass at life. And just wanted to say hi. And
hi, Jamie.
And also some people from the Haven that I was there with are listening, and that place was amazing and exactly what I needed.
Yeah. I remember you were quite happy at Glenishean.
I was. I've never been happy like the happiness I found when I was clean and sober, because the connections I made were actually real, like people who actually cared about you.
Yeah.
Like the people that I met in meetings are like people that actually cared about you and just wanted to see you doing good. Like not everybody, because not everybody's well, we're all still a little sick, but for the most part, the people I surround myself with are people that have my best intentions at heart.
Okay, so let's see if we can see if you learned your first lesson. Now you went to Haven.
Yep.
You slipped. You ended up at Glenishean. What do you think you learned from Haven to Glenishean?
I learned to cut off people in my life that weren't looking out for my best interests. Okay. That's what I learned that time around. That I learned I couldn't hang out with the people that were doing what I used to do if I wanted to stay clean and sober.
Yeah.
Like they say in the program, you have to change people, places, and
Yep,
things.
yep.
That's what I had to do. Like I couldn't lead a double life.
Okay, so you went to Glen and Sheehan, and she lived happily ever after. Nothing ever happened again. I guess the show's over. It was so nice of you to come. Oh, wait a minute. Did we have another slip?
We did.
Oh,
we did.
Okay. Let's fast forward to Glen and Sheehan.
Okay.
When I know me and Fran and your mom and everybody just said, "Oh, she's doing so great."
And I was so happy too, but there was a little part of me that thought, okay, so now I have some recovery under my belt and a little bit of time and like some better knowledge. Maybe I can, when I go back out this time, when I'm off probation, do things differently in moderation.
Yeah.
And
in moderation.
And learn how to, not be sober successfully.
Sure.
Like a normal person, because I'm cured. Because I'm cured.
Yeah, I mean, for over 40 years, I drank in moderation.
Right.
Just ask Fran. No, don't ask Fran. Don't ask Fran. Don't forget, I know there's a lot of people out there watching, Nikki. You see the number up there. You want to give us a quick call. We're going to get through her story. But if you want to give her a quick call and, tell her what you think, you're more than welcome to. All right, so after Glen and Sheehan, how did the next little slip happen?
So basically, I was counting down the days till I was off probation. Because even though probation couldn't keep me sober, it did keep me on the straight and narrow for the most part.
Yeah.
So I had some controls on me. Seriously, the day I got off probation, I made sure I already had a car and I was living in a sober house that, I might be able to get away with something if I wanted to get away with it. So the countdown was on. And
so it was already in the back of your mind.
It was in the back of my mind. And I think anybody that knew me at that point knew what was in the back of my mind because all I talked about was getting off probation. Yeah. That was the only thing I could talk about. I was literally obsessed with it.
So the motivation to not use was kind of weakened a bit.
Oh, yeah. Because I thought there would be no consequences.
Yeah. Funny how that works out, though.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's always consequences for your actions. And sometimes when nothing happens, that's the worst consequence of all.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. So what brought on the next, well, obviously, you got off probation. You started to feel a little cocky, and so you had another little slip.
Yep.
Okay. How did you handle this one?
So this time...
Because now you're not on probation.
No.
Okay.
But this time I thought about where was I truly happy, and that was at Glen and Sheehan with my best friend and other amazing women there that I still keep in contact with today. That's where I was truly happy. And, I went to them and told them that I had a slip, and I could have stayed at the sober house I was at. But I knew I needed to really focus on myself and work on myself a little bit more. This time with nobody telling me I had to be there.
Okay. Yep.
So I went to them and they said, you know what? If you want to come back, you can come back. You can have your car. You can have your own room and you can come right back. And they were like, no, wait, you don't have to go to CSS or TSS or anything. Oh, wow. And I was like, okay, I have to think about it. Because that was my disease talking.
I know.
My disease was like, if you go back, that's it. You're sober for the next 6 months.
For the next 6 months.
Right. That's how I was thinking of it.
Okay.
So I had to think about it, and I had to be pushed a little bit by my mom, who kind of threatened to pull the car back away from me.
Oh, I don't think it was a kind of a threat at all.
It was. Yeah. And I was like, well, I mean, I really want the car still. And she has the title at this point, no longer. But I knew it was the best thing for me at the end of the day because I could have gotten around without it. And I had some real true friends there, and I loved the staff and, the people that ran it.
So you ended up going back.
So I went back. Yeah.
And then again, now we're all set. Oh, we're not? Oh my God. Okay, so you went through how many months at Glenishan?
Just another 6 months of
Okay.
Glenishan.
And okay, let's go to the next little bump.
Right. And then me and my best friend Jamie and her boyfriend at the time all decided to get an apartment together.
I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we got a beautiful apartment. And we were going to call it Paradise Falls, like in the movie Up.
Okay.
Yep. And it was beautiful. And you know, sometimes when you get back everything that you think you want in sobriety, when you get it back so quick, you let it take you back out. And that's the lesson I learned from that slip.
Okay.
I learned that I can lose everything I've gained in recovery in one bad decision.
Yeah.
In one bad decision, one morning, I got an OUI. I had to move out of my apartment. I couldn't keep my job in Beverly. You know, one decision, one bad move, everything's gone. Everything that I worked all that time to get back was gone.
And I'd like to let everybody know, just about every time she had a bump, we'd be on the phone.
Yep.
And she'd always, you know, I mean, when she'd call me when she was ready to take another stab at it, she'd always tell me, you know, why she thought she slipped, what she learned. And she'd always come back a little bit stronger, a little bit more confident. Why don't we get to the last bump in the road?
All right. Yeah. So the last bump in the road, you know, I had pretty much thrown away my entire life. And that was pretty much the last bump in the road.
Yeah.
There was one other like little mini slip up, but I didn't lose everything that time. But you know, I've lost everything in the blink of an eye. Everything I thought was keeping me sober, those things don't keep me sober. This program, my higher power, the fellowship, like the 12 steps, those things keep me sober. And also the thought that like my next bump in the road can take me out completely, can take me out of life.
Sure.
And this time around, with the amount of sobriety I have now, like I've gotten everything back. You know, my life is amazing. You know, not every day is a perfect day, but it's so much better than the alternative. You know, the alternative is waking up, not wanting to live, being forced to just trudge through the day in a complete darkness where you don't know a way out, you don't know a better way. You know, every time I slipped up, in the back of my mind, it was like a head full of AA and a belly full of booze. You know, it just doesn't work. You know, AA ruins your drinking for you.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's a miracle. Like they say, if you don't get AA will get you. And like it totally got me.
Good.
And like I'm excited about my recovery today. Like I love being clean and sober. And like, don't get me wrong, there's days I think about, wow, a drink would be nice right now. But I also play the tape through and know where that would bring me. Like right back to losing every single thing that I've worked so hard for. And I don't mean like the material things, because like I've had those come and go so many times, but like I'm talking about like the relationships you build in this program, like the friends who actually care about you, you know, the family that always stuck by me, you know, even when I was a complete shit show. Sorry for swearing.
Oh, that's okay.
But like
I do that occasionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know, like I'm lucky not everybody has that. Like some people have to go through this
you're so right.
without that.
Yeah. And for any of you that are out there listening, Nikki's parents put a lot of effort into learning how to deal with Nikki's ups and downs and so forth like that. And they're wonderful people, and they're a great support system now. And they're a good friend.
Yeah.
So, and the thing I noticed, especially the last time, she'd call me up and start giving me advice. She'd call me, back in the day, she'd call me, when there was a problem and this and that and so forth. But now, every now and then, she'll call me and, how you doing? We have a chat. And a lot of that, most of the time, I put it on speaker because Fran loves to hear what's going on also. And she always has, something to say. But, yeah, you have become another one of my many, many adopted daughters.
Yes.
And I'm so happy about that.
I am happy about that too, and I feel honored for having that title. I do.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I truly do. So we skipped over that. We ain't got a whole lot of that. We skipped over the part about how you became a dog groomer.
So in 2012, my son passed away. So my son passed away at birth, and I was shortly after birth. So I was completely lost. I was in kind of a toxic relationship. I didn't have a career. I didn't have a way to support myself, and I was sober at the time, but I didn't have a program behind me. And I fell into dog grooming. And I loved it, and I was really good at it. So they pushed me through the certificate program, and it was the first job I ever had where I was like, I wish there were more hours in the day.
Okay, yeah.
And
I can remember when you were at the Haven. I even picked you up a couple of times, come over the house to do Bailey.
Yep.
To do our dog.
Yeah.
So that is your career now.
That is my career now. I have an amazing boss, a job I love, a great apartment. I have people in my life that are second to none.
You can mention, I know you don't want to go on camera, but you can mention that you do have a significant other.
I have an amazing boyfriend.
All right.
Yes, he's great. And I am truly happy. And I wouldn't give it all back for anything.
That's what I like to hear.
No, I try to give back, and that's what I'm doing today.
Yes,
you know,
and it took me, I don't know, about 5 years to finally get you here.
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure I was going to stay.
Yeah,
and now I have every intention to stay.
Do. And like I said, the confidence you have in yourself now. Those are the things I noticed over the years. The confidence you built up in yourself. You just. The determination you had now is it's just so wonderful to see. So what do you think the future brings? You got about 7 minutes to tell me about your future. Not too far into the future.
Okay. I don't know.
Because I know we don't go far into the future.
I try to keep it in the day.
Okay. You gotta throw those things. Well, at least you didn't say one day at a time, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But we got someone. Okay, hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You got to turn down your laptop because there's a pretty good delay there.
Okay. Hi, Bill. Sorry, this is Nancy. I heard
Nancy who?
Exactly, Nancy who.
I know that. Hi, Nancy.
I heard. I thought I heard my name mentioned once.
Oh
so
no!
I figured maybe I would call in. I just wanted to say how proud I am of my daughter. She has turned out to be the person that I always hoped she could be, and I am amazed by her every day. And she didn't do it alone, but she was the main person who did it. I mean, she did it with help from you. Cole and Jackie helped her originally. All her friends and the people that she had at Haven of Hope and at Glenishean and her sponsors, and there's a lot of people who contributed to it, but it was Nikki's journey and still is, and she's the one who's doing it and killing it at life, and I couldn't be prouder. And
well, I'll tell you what, Nancy, don't sell yourself short, because you played a huge part in her recovery, not giving up on her, always learning how to deal with it. So, yeah, when you said nobody does it alone, be it the one in active addiction or us crazy family members who they drive crazy.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't drive me crazy anymore. She's
No, you know what she once told me? She said, I didn't always like you, but I always loved you. Now I like you and I love you.
Well, I'm glad she didn't say, now I like you, but I don't love you.
Yeah.
Nancy, no, in all seriousness, a lot of families will give up on their loved ones. You and Andy never did. And neither did Fran and I.
Yep, exactly. Well, all right. Well, we're just proud of you, Nick. So proud of you.
I love you. Thank you for everything.
Okay.
Bye, Nancy.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, hon. I love her.
I love her too.
Yeah. So so now, right now, you're renting in Methuen.
Yep.
Which is cool. You have a magnificent boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Your family is obviously proud and happy with you. So, what happens next? Now? If I remember right, you actually had visions of maybe having your own business down the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. A couple of years down the line, my boss wants to sell the business, so that's a possibility. And I'd like to own a home someday.
Sure.
And who knows what the future holds?
That's
like if
right.
I stay sober, anything is possible. But
No,
it's all contingent upon that.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah, staying sober is the key. But it's not just about any fool can get clean.
Right.
But you've changed your attitude, the way you feel about others. You've learned the friends that can support you and the ones that can drag you down. So, I mean, you are fantastic. So, we only got a couple minutes. How do you think you close this out? Somebody who, let's say somebody is out there listening and they've just recently relapsed. And they were of the attitude that so many of them have that say, that's it. Now I got to start all over again. Why bother? What would you say to someone like that?
So I think I would tell them that, recovery isn't always a linear process, meaning like it's not always a straight shot from like getting this the first try. Like me and my best friend always say, there are some people that are like first time winners, like that get this the first time around, and like more power to them.
Absolutely. Yep.
I had to be beaten down to submission and try things my way, and luckily people always welcomed me back with open arms, and they say like no shame in coming back, and like it's hard to come back. Like it's hard to get that 24-hour chip and like say like you tried to do it your way and it didn't work. And like but like I'm living proof that if you live through those slip ups and relapses, because I also want to make it clear, not everybody lives through it.
Good point.
It's not, like I always say, it's not a revolving door. Like we're not all promised to come back. There are those that have died from this disease, and like that's a huge tragedy, because the percent of us who get this and make it, are not. It's not a huge number.
No, I'm afraid it isn't.
So it's a miracle if you make it back. And if you make it back, then you just try to focus on what made you go back out and learn from it, and try to not repeat that same mistake twice. And, it took me several attempts to get the time that I have now, which is a good amount of time, and it's a day at a time, and I have to wake up every morning and do the drill. And I'm just lucky because it's not a lot of work at this point. It's maintenance, and I enjoy it, and it's a way of life that I want to live, so it's kind of a miracle. And
no kind of about it.
right, it is a miracle. And whatever it is, I'm just going to keep doing it because it's working for me. But like, for those of you who are just coming back from relapse, like, don't give up hope. Like, it's never too late to get this. You don't lose all the knowledge and all the tools that you gained in the time that you were sober. Like, you may restart your time, chip wise, or counting down the days, but you don't lose all of the knowledge and all of the tools that you gained along the way. You always have that. You can always bank on having that.
You're so smart.
I
Guys,
learned that from you.
well, that's why I said you're so smart. Guys, I appreciate you coming in and listening to Nikki's story. I've been trying to get her for a lot of years, and she's right. She wasn't ready until now. So I would like to thank you again. I'd like to thank you, Nikki. Always Lou in the back room there. And I'd like to, one last time, in remembrance of Kim Holland and her wonderful family, we will see you, Cole and I, next September on the empty chair. Bye-bye.